There is a specific moment. You are in a conversation, a good one, with people you genuinely like, and someone says something that is just slightly wrong. Not offensively wrong, not worth correcting. Just wrong in the particular way that a misaligned gear is wrong quietly, structurally, in a way that means everything downstream will be slightly off too. And you feel it. Physically. Like a splinter. And you say nothing. Because you have done the math, in the half second between hearing it and responding to it, and you already know the cost of saying something is higher than the cost of carrying it. So you smile. You continue. And you add it to the collection, the long, private, invisible collection of things you understood that the room didn't need you to say out loud. Nobody told you this was coming. Nobody told you that the same mind that sees everything clearly would also be the mind that cannot stop seeing. That the precision would follow you home. That it would sit with you at midnight, and on quiet Sundays, and in the pause, at the end of things that went well. His name was Rob. And if you already know why that moment felt familiar, if the splinter landed somewhere specific in you just now, then stay. Because what follows is not a celebration of intelligence. It is an honest account of what it actually costs. 7 rooms, mapped as clearly as language allows. Room 1, the private archive. There is a conversation you have been waiting your whole life to have. You know the shape of it, the depth it would reach, the things that would finally get said out loud, the questions you actually carry, the patterns you've been turning over for months, the observations that feel urgent in a way you've never been able to fully explain. You are still waiting. Not because the right person doesn't exist, but because the right moment never arrives, because social current moves in one direction and the conversation you need lives in another, and redirecting it costs more than you're willing to spend most evenings. So you carry it. You add to it. You maintain, alongside your visible life, an entire interior world that almost no one has ever been given access to. Psychologist Lita Hollingworth called this the communication gap, not inability to speak, but impossibility of being fully received. The higher the intelligence, the wider that gap tends to run. And the accumulation of unspoken things is one of the loneliest forms of fullness a person can carry. Room 2, the prosecution that never rests. The conversation ended 4 hours ago. You are home. The occasion has passed. Your brain has not received that information. It is currently running the exchange again, not the whole thing, just the moment at minute 11 where you chose one word over another and the other word was better. It is calculating the exact distance between the version of events that happened and the version that could have. It is building the counterfactual with the same focus and energy it would give to an unsolved problem, because to the mind doing it, there is no meaningful difference. This is not anxiety. This is not a weakness. This is a high-resolution processing system, doing precisely what it was built to do. Finding the gap, closing the gap, refusing to release input it hasn't fully resolved. The suffering isn't a malfunction. It is thorough, applied to something that has already happened, in a room where the door is locked and the work cannot be changed. Room 3. The weight of early arrival. You already know how this ends. Not vaguely, specifically. You can see the assumption the room is building on that nobody has tested. You can feel the variable that hasn't been accounted for. You can trace the line from this decision to the moment, 6 months from now, when it meets reality and reality wins. The room does not know this yet. The room is still in the part of the story that feels like momentum, and you are standing slightly ahead of everyone, in the part of the story that hasn't been written yet, holding information nobody asked you to carry, making the calculation you have made, more times than you can count. Whether the cost of saying what you see is worth the friction of being the one who said it. Most of the time, you carry it quietly. You watch the outcome arrive exactly as you knew it would, and what you feel is not satisfaction. It is the specific exhaustion of someone who has been living slightly ahead of the present moment for so long that they can no longer remember what it felt like to be surprised. If this is reaching you somewhere real, take 1 second and like this video. It helps this reach the people who need it most. And if you want to keep having conversations that finally put language to what you've been carrying alone, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. This community grows one person at a time, and every single subscription makes this work possible. Room 4. The standard. It never negotiates. Most people have a sense of what good looks like. The high IQ person has an exact, detailed, unignorable picture of what excellence looks like, and an equally exact, equally detailed, equally unignorable picture of the distance between excellence and what was actually produced. This is the real engine underneath perfectionism. Not a character flaw, not ambition performing loudly, just a mind that can see the target with perfect clarity and feels, every single time, the precise measurement of how far short the arrow landed. And it doesn't stay in the work. It follows the person into conversations, into relationships, into the ordinary moments most people move through and forget. The way they showed up on a Tuesday that deserved better. The version of themselves that almost existed, in a moment that won't come back. Research on expert cognition shows this. Consistently, the deeper the understanding of a domain, the more acutely a person feels the gap between good and excellent. Expertise doesn't make the standard easier to meet. It makes the gap harder to ignore. The standard doesn't take days off, and it holds a quiet Wednesday to the exact same measure as the moments that actually matter. Room 5. The translation. There is a version of you that moves through the world. It is not false, but it has been edited, compressed into a frequency the room can receive without discomfort. The precision softened so it doesn't read as cold. The questions are reframed so they don't read as challenges. The full depth of what is actually happening inside you, converted in real time into something smaller and safer and more receivable. You have become extraordinarily good at this. So good that most people have no idea it is happening. And that is the loneliness of it. Not that people don't like you, they do. Not that you can't connect, you can. But behind the translated version, the original is still running. Unedited, unshared, carrying the full weight of what was meant while the room receives only what was said. Over years, this produces a fatigue that has nothing to do with the people themselves. It is the exhaustion of permanent fluency in a language that is not your native one. Of knowing, always, that the most significant parts of who you are surviving in the gap between what you said and what you meant. Room 6. Sunday afternoon. No reason. It doesn't arrive as a crisis. It arrives quietly. On an ordinary afternoon, in the pause between one thing and the next, with no warning and no clear cause. Just a question, patient and specific, that has been waiting for a quiet moment to ask itself, is this what the capacity was for? The high IQ mind applies to its own life the same evaluative precision it applies to everything else. And the conventional answers the career built, the comfort achieved, the recognition accumulated do not survive that evaluation. They answer a shallower question than the one being asked. They satisfy a hunger the person asking doesn't actually have. Viktor Frankl wrote that meaning is the deepest human need. For the high IQ person, the search for it goes to depths where most available maps simply end. And so, the search continues quietly, persistently, beneath the surface of a life that looks from every external angle entirely complete. Restlessness isn't ingratitude, it is accurate. Room 7. The thing that cannot be separated. This is the one that takes the longest to arrive at, and the longest to accept. The mind that produces these struggles is the same mind that produces everything else. The precision, the insight, the ability to feel the full texture of being alive with an intensity that is sometimes devastating and occasionally extraordinary. The way certain ideas land like something physical. The way a well-constructed argument produces something close to aesthetic pleasure. The way you have always known, without being able to prove it, that there is more going on beneath the surface of things than most conversations ever reach. These cannot be separated from the cost. The gift and the weight are not two different things in the same package. They are one thing. Experienced from two different angles, on two different kinds of days, and at some point alone, without ceremony, in no particular place, the highly intelligent person arrives at this understanding. That what they were given was never simply an advantage. It was a particular way of being alive, more expansive in some directions, more exposed in others. Not a burden, not a blessing. Both, always both, depending entirely on the light. Rob still feels the splinter. Every misaligned gear, every room that moved forward without him, every conversation that stayed on the surface when he needed it to go somewhere real. He has stopped waiting for the world to build the room he needs. He is building it himself, one conversation at a time, with the people who feel the splinter too. You are one of them, and you always were. What room on this map have you spent the most years navigating without a name for it, and what would it have meant to find this language 10 years sooner? Leave it in the comments. Like this video if it reached you somewhere real, and subscribe to this channel. It is the single most important thing you can do to keep these conversations growing and this community alive. I will see you in the next one.